Good morning. It's Vijay here. Welcome to a special session on exit polls. Today is the last day of the polling of the Lok Sabha elections 2024. It has been a dramatic election in more ways than one. There has been a tough fight between the India alliance and the BJP led NDA alliance. So initially, when the elections were announced, it seemed to be a foregone conclusion that in NDA alliance will sweep the polls. So the uh, slogan of 400 par was considered de rigueur. That means it will be achieved just like that. And so there was no talk of the India alliance, which is led by Congress, having DMK, having TMC, SP, uh, um, AAP, and such as Shiv Sena, NCP. So lots of parties together. In the past, these combination has never worked. So it was normal to believe that the BJP-led NDA alliance will get significant number of seats, maybe 370. 370 was the target for BJP as far as the government was concerned. Both the Prime Minister, Home Minister, and others talked about it. The NDA was supposed to cross 400 plus. So in such a case, that the the Congress-led India alliance would get hardly about 90 seats because the others would go to the independents. So, as the campaign progressed, there seemed to be some change on the ground. The India alliance started getting more popular or getting more traction, I would say, more than popularity. And people began to wonder whether the number 400 plus will be reduced. If it is going to be reduced at all, how much lower can it go? And as we moved into the sixth and now entering the seventh phase, the fears among a lot of people is that will NDA repeat last time's performance, which was about 353 seats. BJP alone got about 303 seats. So we are on a day when there is a talk of the BJP getting 303 seats, and the consensus, of course, in the financial market is 330 seats, and the NDA may get actually 370 seats. So this has been capitalized well. It has been actually manna from heaven for the media because now they can run an exit poll with all the drama. If there was 400 plus, then there is no point in running an exit poll because it is just a clear demarcation between the winner and loser. So now you have some drama. Now, having started my career with a research agency, which was the pioneer in opinion polls and exit polls in the 1970s and 80s, I have seen at close quarters how these things work and what are the reliability and fallibility of these polls. I was working with a firm called Indian Market Research Bureau, which is the largest market research firm in India. Now they have been bought over, and now it is known as Kantar India. Now we did opinion polling on our own. We did opening polling for the political parties, confidential opinion polls also, and over a period of time, we realized that, and with whatever scientific method of sampling, stratified sampling, a terrific field force, a straightforward research design, we found that our track record or our accuracy levels were very, very poor. The reason for it being poor was not at the research design per se or our field work, which was top class. Almost all the top class companies used IMRB for their consumer research. If all of them believed in our consumer research, then where were we going wrong as far as our political research was concerned? So, what we found out was that if you were to ask somebody what toothpaste are you using or what soap are you using, the answer will come out clearly because they've got nothing to lose. But when you ask a respondent whether you will vote for a political party, maybe it's difficult, but it's not impossible. But when you ask a respondent whom have you voted, then the fear factor comes into picture. In a wave election, where everybody knows who's going to be the winner. For instance, 2014 was a classic case where Har Ghar Modi, Is Baar Modi Sarkar, that was the kind of campaigning was done, and it was easy to tap into the psyche of the Indian voter, especially the rural Indian voter, who is very reticent in revealing their choices. So there was no harm in them telling me I voted for BJP, because UPA need not have could not have threatened them to say otherwise. So that was the state in 2014. In 2019 also, you had the same fervor, especially because the nationalist fervor because of the Balakot incident. So one would have expected people to speak the truth. Now, 2024 is a different ballgame altogether. You see here, there are a lot of political forces at play. This is not the first time it is happening. Even in the early elections in the 1970s, 80s, opinion polling, exit polling was non-existent that time. It was very difficult because you see, somebody would come and threaten them, or label them, or something bad will happen to them if they reveal their true choice, especially if it is an unpopular choice, as far as the consensus is concerned. So this time, in my opinion and my analysis, after having spent around 4 hours every day listening to all kinds of views, right from the elite financial sector views to the mass media views of the television channels, most of them, in fact, not all, I mean, all of them I don't like, but I have to sit through all these, pontifications by these so-called experts who never move out of the drawing room. And then, I also listen to the regional channels, whether it is Tamil, Kannada, Hindi to a great extent, because lots of Hindi YouTube channels are doing a fantastic job on the ground. So, based on that, I believe that there is a silent wave at this time election, and it is like a tsunami. So, yeah, in my opinion, it will be a clear-cut verdict. It will not be, it will not be a hung parliament, is what I think, based on what I've understood by listening to all these worthies. So, therefore, who is going to win? I am keeping my cards close to my chest, because this is not an election which is easy to predict. It is not there staring into your face saying that this party will win and that party will not win. That itself is a very intriguing factor, because 3 months ago, if you had asked me, I would have told you it will be NDA which will win. I'm not saying India will not win this time. India will still win probably, but I do not know what the final figures would be. So I have done a analysis. I have done a spaces. I've written about it, that this will be what I call a subtraction election, where the ruling party will get less seats than the last time. Getting less seats than the last time means nothing, because if you last time they got 353, if they get 330, it is still far above the majority. Even if they get 273, it is still majority. So it means nothing. So I am not privy, neither do have a very strong opinion as to where the number of seats will be, because this is one of the toughest elections to even predict. And to predict it seat by seat, state by state, I think it is almost a superhuman effort. So now let's look at what the exit polls will do. The exit polls are likely to be very confident of their numbers, which I have very little, empathy or sympathy for them, because having seen and also having heard of how the exit polls are being conducted on the ground, most of them will not even interview the voters, because you see today, this time, all the more difficult because of the conditions. Weather conditions are 47 degrees. For even to walk out, even if somebody is going to give you money, to go and question somebody is extremely, extremely difficult. People would not venture out of their houses when you have a 47-degree heat, and you are now supposed to go around the countryside, not in the urban areas where you have facilities to have cold water, but in villages and such other places. So I think this exit poll, if they get it right, it will be what I would call it luck by chance. So therefore, now having been so strongly against the exit polls and their veracity, let us see whether it really is that, or is something what I'm talking may not be the right thing. Let us go back to, I'll share the information of the last 3 exit polls. Let's take the 2019. You see, in 2019, the India Today Axis said for the NDA they'll get 352, Chanakya of News Today, News 24 said 350. If you go down the order, you will see they came down. The NewsX talked of 242 for NDA. I'm not talking for BJP. So what happened finally in 2019? NDA got 353 seats and UPA got 91 seats. So you can say India Today Axis and News Today, News 24 Today's Chanakya were right on the ball. But there were more than 10 other organizations which got it wrong. So you just got only 2 right. Then we go to the next one. In 2014, if you look at it, CNN IBN talked of 276 for NDA, and the CNN IBN did another one for CSDS. This came 2 days later, which is 280. So the poll of polls that time talked of about 283. In 2019, the poll of polls talked of 310. India got about 350 plus. In 2014, they got poll of polls at 283. India got 336. They were off by around 60 seats. They were off nearly 50 seats. So India got 336 and UPA got 60, whereas the poll of polls talked of UPA getting 105. So they were again off by about 45 seats. So what is the use of doing an exit poll where you are off by such a large margin? You can take a margin of 1% plus or minus, but not a percentage margin of nearly 70 seats in case of the NDA and 45 seats in case of the UPA. Now let's go to 2009. Now take this 2009. Again, we had only 5 exit polls. Then the CNN IBN talked of 185 to 205 for UPA, and India was 165 to 185. It was almost like, it was a hung parliament. All of us believed in 2009 that we will get a hung parliament. But what was the actual result? UPA got 262, NDA got 159. If you take the poll of polls in 2009, NDA should have got 190, but they got 160, and the UPA should have got 200, whereas they got 262. Again, a difference of nearly 30% for the winner. So again, this is a poll which has the exit poll, the series of exit polls done by Dainik Bhaskar, India TV, Star, and Headlines Today. All of them failed miserably. Then let's go to 2004. So in 2004, you had both opinion polls and exit polls. In opinion polls, people talked of the NDA getting about 335. In January 2004, the elections were held between April and May, but it was about 335 for the NDA before they went into the polling, and UPA was looking at only 110. Somewhat similar to what we are seeing now. So the exit polls gave NDA around 240. NDTV was managed then by Prannoy Roy, very well respected, but they got only 230 to 250 as their number for NDA and 190 to 205 for the UPA. If you look at the others, it was only higher, 263 for Star News, 248 for Aaj Tak, Sahara at 278, Z News at 249. What had happened finally? NDA landed at 181. Nobody was anywhere close to that. So the poll of polls was 260 for NDA, whereas they landed with 181, which is about 80 seats, which is, you are talking of nearly about 30% drop in terms of the actual result. And UPA got 218, whereas the poll of polls talked of 180. So to summarize, every single exit poll since 2004, the poll of polls have got it wrong. So one odd time or 2 times you have got it right. In 2019, it has happened. But can that repeat? With so many factors in play, I strongly feel that it will be very tough for the exit polls to give an exact poll. So I would be very careful in looking at exit polls and taking any view on what will happen on the exact poll. So just be careful in your positioning on Monday. I will come back tomorrow evening with what I think of the positioning and what may happen to the markets the following week. That will be tomorrow evening. But right now, thank you for joining me. And I am not a SEBI registered advisor. I am not a cephalogist. I'm just a person who's experienced opinion polling and exit polling in my previous avatar. Thank you for joining me.